Your phone buzzes, an email pings, and your focus scatters once again. This steady pull on your attention can feel like a modern challenge. But 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius navigated his own forms of turmoil and wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That enduring wisdom holds the key to the focus you seek. This is not about fighting a losing battle against distraction. It is about nurturing an unshakable inner discipline. By the end of this, you will have a complete Stoic framework to sustain your concentration no matter what comes your way. We will explore how ancient thinkers mastered their attention in times of uncertainty, and why true focus is not a condition of your surroundings, but a quality you build from within. What does it truly mean to have power over your own mind? The single most powerful tool for focus in Stoicism is a simple, two-part classification of everything in your life. This is the dichotomy of control, your foundational filter for attention. It asks you to sort every single thing you encounter into one of two categories: what is up to you and what is not. What is up to you are your own judgments, your intentions, your desires, and your actions. These are the inner movements of your mind and will. Everything else, from the weather to the stock market, from a sudden noise to another person's mood, falls into the category of what is not up to you. The philosopher Epictetus began his entire manual for life with this very idea. He wrote that some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, pursuit, desire, and aversion. Our very faculty of judgment is ours to command. This is where your freedom truly lies, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your response to it. Think of your mind as a quiet garden. The dichotomy of control is the gate. You get to decide what you let in and what you pay attention to. A work email landing in your inbox is an external event. It is not up to you. But your choice to not immediately check it, to instead keep your attention on the task you have chosen, that action is entirely within your power. The distraction is not the ping itself, but your internal permission to be pulled away. Every time you apply this filter, you are training your mind to invest its energy only where it can actually make a difference. This is not about ignoring the world, but about engaging with it on your own terms from a place of inner strength. So take a moment and bring to mind 3 common distractions from your own day. It could be a social media notification, a passing thought, or a colleague's interruption. Now run each one through this simple filter. Ask yourself, is this thing entirely within my power? You will likely find that most of the noise falls firmly outside your walls, leaving you with a quiet space to focus on what truly matters, your own reasoned choice. What if you could insert a moment of pause between a distraction and your reaction to it? This is the heart of the Stoic Discipline of Assent, your second powerful tool for focus. An impression, like the sound of a phone notification or a sudden thought about an unfinished task, arrives in your mind. Stoicism teaches that this impression is not good or bad by itself. It is neutral, just a piece of information. The distraction does not come from the impression itself, but from your assent, your immediate inner agreement that this thing is important, urgent, or worthy of your attention right now. By pausing that automatic judgment, you create a crucial mental space. In that space, you regain your cognitive control. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this power when he wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your judgments literally tint your entire inner world. If you instantly judge a noise as an infuriating interruption, your focus shatters. but if you simply observe it as a sound, a neutral event in the world outside your control, your concentration remains unbroken. Consider a loud noise outside your window. The undisciplined mind might immediately label it an annoyance, fueling frustration and breaking your flow. The Stoic practice is to notice the sound without adding a story. You hear it, you acknowledge its existence, and then, from that place of observation, you consciously choose to return your attention to your work. The noise happened. Your reaction, however, is yours to command. For the next hour, try a simple experiment. As you go about your tasks, make it your goal to simply notice your initial judgments about interruptions. A coworker speaks to you, an email alert chimes, a concern enters your mind. See if you can catch that first impulse to label it as a problem. Do not try to stop the impulse, just observe it without automatically acting. This small act of noticing is the seed of profound focus, a way to ensure your inner world is colored by choice, not by chaos. Stoicism proposes a radical strategy for dealing with distractions, not just tolerating them, but learning to love them. This is the profound practice of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. It means seeing every obstacle, every interruption, not as a hindrance to your plan, but as an essential part of the path itself. When you can look at a sudden change or an unexpected noise and accept it as necessary, something remarkable happens. The frustration around it simply dissolves. Marcus Aurelius wrote a powerful instruction to himself on this very idea. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then your life will flow smoothly." He is not advising passive surrender. He is pointing toward an active, even joyful, acceptance of reality as it unfolds. Your project is delayed by a week. The undisciplined mind rages against the unfairness, wasting energy on a situation it cannot change. The mind practicing Amor Fati sees this delay not as a failure, but as a gift of time. It is an opportunity to practice patience, to refine your initial work, or to address a detail you had previously overlooked. The interruption becomes woven into the fabric of your progress, a necessary thread in the larger tapestry. This reframing is a cognitive superpower. It transforms a distracting event from an opponent to an ally. Think of a recent interruption in your own life, perhaps a last-minute request that pulled you away from your main goal. For a moment, try to see it through the lens of Amor Fati. Ask yourself, what hidden benefit could this contain? Maybe it encouraged you to practice setting a boundary, or it revealed a more efficient way to organize your day, or it simply gave you a necessary moment of mental rest you did not know you needed. By loving what is necessary, you align yourself with the current of life itself, and in that alignment, you find a focus that cannot be broken by circumstance. Picture your entire life from a great height, seeing all your daily worries and interruptions as tiny, distant specks. This is the Stoic practice of the view from above, a powerful mental exercise to reclaim your focus by shifting your perspective. When you feel overwhelmed by a constant stream of distractions, this tool helps you zoom out and see the bigger picture, realizing how small that urgent email or that one frustrating moment truly is in the grand scope of your existence. Marcus Aurelius frequently used this technique to steady his mind, reminding himself to look at things from this elevated place. He wrote of seeing baths, food, the bustle of life, and armies on the move from this higher vantage, noting how small it all appears. He was not dismissing his responsibilities, but rather contextualizing them within the vast, silent expanse of the cosmos. This practice dissolves the false urgency that distractions create. A missed deadline feels like a catastrophe in the moment, but when you view it from the perspective of your entire life, it often becomes a minor event, a single thread in a much larger tapestry. The noise that seemed so loud from up close simply fades into the background. To apply this, the next time a minor interruption threatens to derail your concentration, pause for just a moment. Close your eyes if you can and mentally pull your viewpoint upward. See your room, your building, your city from high above. Watch as the cars move like tiny ants and the sounds of the world blend into a quiet hum. In that immense silence, observe your current concern. Notice how its size and intensity shrink against the backdrop of centuries, oceans, and stars. This is not about avoiding your tasks, but about approaching them with a calm and steady mind, freed from the pull of small things. What feels like an overwhelming distraction now is merely a passing cloud in the vast sky of your life. Try this view from above the very next time you feel pulled in a dozen directions, and discover the profound focus that comes from knowing what truly matters. The Stoics did not just wait for distractions to happen, they rehearsed for them mentally. This is the practice of Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of troubles, a strategic exercise to fortify your focus before it is ever tested. It is not about pessimistic worry, which only drains your energy. It is a rational and calm rehearsal of potential challenges, a way to prepare your mind for the unexpected. Seneca captured the power of this practice perfectly when he wrote that he who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. By visualizing an interruption in advance, you strip it of its ability to surprise and derail you. You have already lived through the scenario in your mind, and when it appears in reality, it feels familiar, manageable, almost expected. Imagine you are preparing for an important work session that requires deep concentration. Before you even begin, you take a moment to premeditate. You visualize your phone lighting up with a social media notification. You see the screen glow, you hear the buzz, but in your mental rehearsal, you do not react with frustration or curiosity. You simply observe the event, label it as an external not worth your assent, and calmly return your attention to your task. You have already decided your response. When it actually happens, your mind does not scramble. It simply follows the path you laid out for it in advance. This is how you build cognitive resilience. The interruption does not control you because you have already choreographed your reaction. Now, bring to mind your next important task. It could be writing a report, studying for an exam, or having a meaningful conversation. Mentally walk through that situation. Can you identify 2 potential distractions that might arise? Perhaps it is a colleague stopping by your desk or a moment of uncertainty about the outcome. Do not fear these possibilities. Instead, welcome the chance to rehearse them. Visualize each one occurring, and then see yourself acknowledging it without alarm, and gently steering your focus back to your chosen path. This simple act of premeditation transforms potential obstacles into mere scenery on your journey, leaving your concentration steady and strong. At the heart of Stoic psychology lies the idea of an inviolable inner self, a personal fortress you can always return to. This is your inner citadel, the ultimate sanctuary for your focus. While the dichotomy of control acts as the gate and the discipline of assent guards the walls, the citadel itself is that quiet, central space where your true strength resides, completely separate from the chaos outside. It is the mental sanctuary where your virtue, your reason, and your deepest concentration are preserved. Marcus Aurelius returned to this image often in his private writings, reminding himself to go inside, for no place is more peaceful or less disturbed than one's own soul. He was not promoting escapism, but a conscious, deliberate turning inward to regain strength and clarity. When a flood of emails, notifications, and demands leaves you feeling scattered, this is your practiced response, a mental step back into a place of absolute calm. The noise of the world cannot enter here unless you personally allow it. Think of it as your private command center, a room where the alarms and flashing lights of outside events are quieted, letting you hear only the clear voice of your own judgment. The next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Close your eyes for just a moment, take 3 slow, deep breaths, and with each exhale, imagine you are walking through the gates of your own inner fortress. Inside, there is only stillness. The urgent demands become distant echoes. The frustrations are left at the door. In this space, you can ask yourself with genuine clarity, what is the one thing that truly deserves my attention right now? Your answer will come from a place of reason, not reaction. Now, take a moment to consider, what does your own inner citadel feel like? Is it a quiet library, a serene garden, or perhaps a simple, silent room? Defining this space in your mind makes it easier to find when you need it most. This is not running away from your life. It is returning to the one place from which you can engage with it most effectively, with a focus that is unbreakable because it is built from within. If you knew this was the last hour you had to work, what would you truly focus on? The answer that surfaces in your mind, clear and undeniable, points directly to what matters most. This is the essence of Memento Mori, the Stoic practice of remembering our own finite time. It is not a dark fixation, but a profound tool for creating unshakable focus by clarifying our deepest priorities. When you hold the reality of your limited time in awareness, trivial distractions lose their power to pull you away. The philosopher Seneca wrote in his letters on the shortness of life that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. He observed that life is long enough if you know how to use it. We are not given a short life, he suggests, but we make it short by scattering our attention on things that do not deserve it. Remembering our own transition is not about fear, it is about urgency, the kind that sharpens your vision and directs your energy with precision. Consider a common choice, spending 30 minutes scrolling through social media feeds. Through an ordinary lens, it feels like a harmless break, but viewed through the lens of Memento Mori, that same half hour becomes a significant portion of your one irreplaceable life. The practice asks you to weigh that time against spending it on a meaningful conversation with someone you care about, or on making tangible progress toward a project you believe in. The distraction itself is not wrong, but your awareness of time's value reveals its true cost. This remembrance acts as a constant filter, helping you dismiss the noise that does not align with your core values. It grounds you in the present moment, reminding you that this hour, this day, is the only place you can ever actually live and act. Take this idea to heart right now with a simple exercise. Grab a piece of paper or open a note on your device. Write down one thing you would immediately stop doing if you fully embraced this perspective today. Perhaps it is checking the news compulsively or worrying about a minor opinion someone holds of you. Then, write down one thing you would start doing. Maybe it is finally making that phone call you have been putting off, or dedicating your first uninterrupted hour each morning to your most important goal. This is not about adding pressure, but about granting yourself permission to ignore the unimportant. Memento Mori is the ultimate prioritization tool, ensuring your focus rests only on what is worthy of your limited and precious attention. We often lose focus because we are searching for something else, something more. Stoicism asks a quiet, profound question: what if you already have enough? This is the art of contentment, the final piece in building a focus that is immune to the pull of endless wanting. It is the practice of finding deep satisfaction in the present moment and in what is already within your sphere of control. When you are content, the restless need for novelty, for a different set of circumstances, simply loses its grip. your mind stops looking for an escape from the task before you because it sees that task itself as a worthy and sufficient place to be. The philosopher Epictetus offered a powerful reframing of this idea, suggesting that wealth and poverty are not found in your bank account, but in your own judgments and desires. He taught that he is rich who is content with what he owns, for no great wealth can satisfy the person who is always wanting more. Your distraction is not caused by a boring task, but by the story you tell yourself that something better is happening elsewhere. That story is the true source of the pull. Contentment silences that story. Consider the simple act of studying. The distracted mind is not fully with the material. It is already thinking about being finished, about the relief of closing the book, about what it will do next. This mental time travel is what fractures your concentration. The content mind, however, sees the study session itself as the entire point. It engages fully with the concepts, finding interest and value in the process of learning right now. The goal of finishing is not abandoned, but it is no longer the source of your satisfaction. The work itself becomes the reward. This shift transforms your entire relationship with your duties. Your work is no longer a barrier to your happiness, but the very activity through which you express it. To bring this into your own life, identify one single area where a lack of contentment consistently pulls your attention away. Perhaps it is during your work hours when you find yourself constantly checking for new emails or messages, seeking a bit of novelty instead of immersing yourself in the project you have chosen. Or maybe it is in your personal time when you scroll through endless feeds, looking for something to fill a quiet moment instead of simply resting in the quiet itself. What would it feel like to approach that exact same situation with a sense of enough? To sit with your work and decide, for this hour, this is all I need to be doing. This is a complete and worthy use of my time. In that decision, you reclaim the focus that seeking had stolen, and you discover that everything you needed to be fully engaged was already right there in front of you. To become more focused in comfort, the Stoics practiced intentional discomfort. This sounds contradictory, yet it is a profound method for strengthening your mental resilience. The core idea is simple. By voluntarily experiencing manageable challenges, you build a tolerance that makes everyday distractions and annoyances feel far less significant. You are essentially training your focus muscle so that when a real test arrives, it does not break your concentration. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus argued that practicing with difficulty is necessary. He suggested that just as an athlete must train for a competition, so must we prepare our inner selves for life's inevitable hurdles by occasionally choosing them. This is not about punishing yourself, but about building inner strength. A small dose of voluntary unease builds your psychological readiness, making you less reactive to the minor irritations that would normally shatter your focus. Think of it like this: if you are used to running 5 miles, walking 1 feels effortless. Similarly, if you voluntarily sit in a slightly cool room to read, the sudden sound of a distant siren will not pull you from the page. Your baseline for what feels disruptive has been raised. One practical application is to turn off the heater in your car during a short drive. The initial coolness is a minor physical sensation, an external event not up to you. Your practice is to notice the feeling without labeling it as unbearable or a problem that must be solved right away. You simply observe the cool air, maintain your focus on the road and your thoughts, and in doing so, you demonstrate to yourself that your concentration is stronger than a temporary physical feeling. This small victory builds a deep-seated confidence. For 1 week, challenge yourself to choose one tiny, voluntary step outside your usual comfort. It could be taking a slightly cooler shower than usual, skipping a habitual snack, or spending 30 minutes without your phone in a waiting room. The goal is not to suffer, but to observe your own reaction. Notice the initial impulse to escape the feeling, and then consciously choose to stay with it, reaffirming that your inner peace does not depend on perfect external conditions. This practice quietly forges a focus that remains steady, not because the world is quiet, but because you have proven to yourself that you can handle the noise. The simplest Stoic technique for sustained focus is also the most immediate, the conscious pause of a single breath. This is the discipline of assent made physical, a micro-habit that constructs the macro skill of an unbreakable attention. In the space of one intentional inhalation and exhalation, you create a gentle gap between a distracting impression and your automatic reaction to it. You are not stopping the world, you are simply claiming a moment of sovereignty over your own mind. This tiny space is where your freedom lies. The ancient teacher Epictetus constantly reminded his students not to be carried away by the first appearance of things, but to instead say to every strong impression, "You are just an impression, and not necessarily the thing you claim to be." That single breath is you saying those very words. It is the momentary stillness that prevents you from being swept away by the current of impulse. Imagine your phone lighting up with a notification. The untrained mind immediately reaches for it, drawn by a sense of false urgency. The practiced mind, however, does something profoundly different and incredibly simple. It takes one deep, conscious breath. In the time it takes to fill your lungs and release the air, you have created a buffer. You have reminded yourself that the buzz is an external event and that your power lies in your chosen response. The impulse to check it may still be there, but it no longer directs you. You have inserted a moment of reason between the stimulus and your action. This practice turns distraction into a trigger for presence. Every ping, every interruption becomes not a thief of your focus, but a bell calling you back to your own center. For the next hour, make this your personal experiment. The next 3 times you feel that internal pull to shift your attention away from your chosen task, do not fight it. Instead, honor it with a stoic pause. Stop everything, take one full, deliberate breath. Feel the air moving in and out, and in that brief stillness, ask yourself a simple question. Is reacting to this truly the best use of my focus right now? You may be surprised how often the answer is a clear and quiet no, allowing you to return to your work with a focus that feels chosen, not taken. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the action itself, not the trophy waiting at the finish line. This is a profound shift in how we direct our attention. Your mind is pulled away from the present not by a noise in the room, but by a noise in the future, the constant hum of what if. What if this project does not go as planned? What if people do not connect with my work? What if my effort does not lead where I hope? That concern about results is a powerful and constant source of distraction, splintering your focus from the one thing you can actually influence, the quality of your work right now. The Stoics drew a clear line between our sphere of action and the sphere of fortune. Your effort, your integrity, your commitment to doing the job well, these are entirely within your power. The final outcome, however, is shaped by countless factors you cannot control, from market conditions to another person's perspective. When you tie your peace of mind to that unpredictable outcome, you hand over the keys to your concentration. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful antidote to this mental scattering. He instructed himself to do every act of your life as if it were the last act of your life, to do it with perfect focus and without distraction. He was not being somber, he was prescribing a way of working where the action itself becomes its own reward, where the quality of your effort is the entire point. Think of a writer at their desk. The distracted mind is not truly writing. It is already imagining the book on a bestseller list, or thinking about a challenging review, or wondering whether the first chapter will resonate. This mental leap into an uncertain future is what breaks the flow. The Stoic writer, however, focuses solely on the next sentence. They pour their entire being into choosing the right word, crafting the clearest phrase, and ensuring this one paragraph expresses the truth as they see it. The potential for sales or different opinions exists in a separate realm, one they acknowledge but do not inhabit with their precious attention. The writing itself is the worthy endeavor. Your own work is no different. Bring to mind a current project, something that matters to you. Now make a simple mental list. On one side, write down everything that is within your control. Your preparation, your diligence, the time you dedicate, the care you take with each step. On the other side, list everything that is not. The final reception, the views of others, the wider environment, the chance involved. See how the second list is vast and ultimately unmanageable. Your most powerful focus comes from pouring your energy exclusively into the first list, into the actions you can command. When you do this, a remarkable calm descends. The concern about the future loses its grip because you are fully invested in the present moment, in the work itself. This is how you build a focus that is not fragile, a concentration that remains steady, not because you are guaranteed a particular result, but because you have decided that doing your duty well is success enough. For a Stoic, sustained focus is not merely a productivity hack, it is a requirement for living a rational and virtuous life. This principle is rooted in the core Stoic doctrine of living in accordance with nature. The ancient founders of the school, like Zeno, taught that our highest purpose as human beings is to live rationally, since our nature is that of a reasoning creature. This means our actions should be guided by purpose and a drive toward excellence in our roles. When you act with this understanding, distractions are revealed for what they often are, irrational impulses that pull you away from your essential purpose. The Roman statesman Cicero, in his work on duties, expanded on this, arguing that to forsake our reason is to forsake our very humanity. Every time you choose to focus on a meaningful task, you are not just being efficient, you are fulfilling your nature. You are acting as a rational being was designed to act. Conversely, when an irrational urge pulls you away, like the compulsion to check social media during your dedicated work hours, you are acting against your own core design. That scroll through a feed is not just a waste of time, it is a temporary departure from your role as a focused, contributing person. It is a choice to behave contrary to your rational nature. Think about your own day. Are the activities that consume your attention aligned with your fundamental purpose? Do they reflect the rational, capable person you are at your core, or do they cater to fleeting impulses that leave you feeling scattered and unfulfilled? When you see focus through this lens, it becomes a moral choice, a daily practice of aligning with your true self. This alignment provides a powerful, intrinsic filter. An interruption arises and you can ask a simple, profound question. Does this serve my nature as a rational being? If the answer is no, your reason itself gives you the strength to gently, firmly, return your attention to what does. What if you truly appreciated your ability to focus only after you imagined losing it? This is the practice of negative visualization, a Stoic exercise that transforms your relationship with time and attention. It invites you to mentally set aside a good thing from your life, not to create fear, but to awaken a deep sense of gratitude for what you currently hold. By gently imagining the absence of your capacity for deep work, you begin to see every moment of quiet concentration as the rare and precious gift it truly is. This practice is a close relative of preparing for challenges, but its purpose is different. It is not about bracing for difficulty, but about nurturing a heartfelt appreciation for the present. A common Stoic theme reminds us to cherish what we have while we still have it, for nothing in this world is truly permanent. Consider your computer or the device you are using right now. It is a portal to immense knowledge and a tool for creating meaningful work. Now close your eyes for a moment and picture it suddenly unavailable. A technical issue makes it unusable for a week. Feel that initial sense of disruption, the frustration of projects paused and plans put on hold. Then open your eyes, see the screen glowing, the keys ready for your command. That feeling of relief you just experienced, that is the gift negative visualization offers. The device is no longer just a tool, it is a privilege. The opportunity to work and learn with it becomes a focused mission, not a chore. Now take this a step further and consider an even more fundamental capacity. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would be like to lose your eyesight. The simple act of reading these words, of seeing a sunset, of looking into a loved one's face, all of it gone. This is not a dark exercise. It is a clear reminder of the incredible faculties you currently hold. When you return from that brief mental journey, the ability to sit and read, to study, to focus your eyes on a single page, feels nothing short of miraculous. The small distractions that once pulled you away suddenly seem unimportant against the backdrop of such a change. To bring this into your own life, try a brief version of this practice right now. Pause for just 30 seconds. Think about your current primary task, the one that requires your deepest focus. Now, gently imagine that your ability to concentrate on it has been set aside. Your mind is constantly scattered, unable to hold a single thought for more than a few moments. Sit with that feeling of uncertainty. Then, release the thought and return to your actual, present mind. Feel the clarity and the potential for directed attention that you still possess. That simple shift in perspective can turn a routine work session into a valued opportunity, making you far less likely to trade it for something trivial. You are not just working, you are exercising a profound human capacity, one that deserves your full respect and care. The digital world is engineered to trigger your judgments, and Stoicism offers a way to disarm it. Every headline, every post, and every notification is carefully crafted to provoke an immediate emotional response. This is the modern arena where the Stoic discipline of assent becomes your most vital tool for self-protection. You are not being asked to ignore the online world, but to engage with it from a place of inner sovereignty, observing the content without automatically agreeing to its emotional charge. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a timeless truth when he taught that people are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. A politically charged post is just a collection of words and images on a screen, an external event. The frustration or concern you feel does not come from the post itself, but from your own rapid, internal agreement that this thing is worthy of your emotional energy and focus. By suspending that initial judgment, you reclaim your cognitive resources. Picture yourself scrolling through a feed and encountering a post designed to provoke a strong reaction. The untrained mind immediately leaps into the fray, feeling a surge of frustration or a spike of comparison, its attention completely captured. The practiced Stoic, however, observes the very same post and mentally labels it an impression. They see the attempt to trigger them. They feel the initial pull of the emotion, but they do not grant it their assent. They acknowledge the feeling and then consciously choose to scroll past, preserving their mental energy and focus for the tasks they have deliberately chosen. This is not apathy, it is profound self-command. The next time an online post triggers a strong emotion in you, whether it is frustration or comparison, make that moment your practice. Notice the feeling rise within you. Do not try to push it away or act on it. Simply observe it as a neutral event in your nervous system, a wave of sensation that will pass. See if you can watch the feeling without adding a story about what it means or what you must do about it. In that small space of non-judgment, you will find a quiet power the ability to use the digital world without letting it use you. A distracted mind is often a divided self. Stoicism seeks to unify you. This internal division is the source of a unique kind of distraction, one that does not come from a phone or a noisy street, but from a quiet war within. You experience it when you genuinely want to finish a meaningful report, but a deeper, more impulsive part of you desperately wants the easy entertainment of a streaming show. This is not a simple lack of willpower. It is a fundamental misalignment between your rational judgment and your deeper wants. The Stoic ideal is a life where these forces are integrated, where what you know is right and what you actually want to do become one and the same, creating a powerful current of focus instead of a draining internal conflict. The philosopher Epictetus pointed directly to this when he taught that no one is free who is not master of themselves. He was describing a state of inner sovereignty where your desires have been educated to follow your reason, not rebel against it. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to ensure that his guiding intention remained undisturbed by the pull of immediate sensation, a call to unify his conscious attention with his deeper purpose. When your desires are aligned with your rational choices, the very energy you once wasted on internal debate becomes available for concentrated action. Think of the common experience of knowing you should go for a morning run. The undisciplined self is fractured. One voice lists all the benefits of exercise, while another, louder voice argues for the comfort of the warm bed. This internal argument is itself a massive distraction, consuming mental energy before you have even moved. The integrated self, however, has already done the work of alignment. It does not see the run and the bed as equal choices. It has decided through reason that the run serves its broader goal of health and vitality. The wish for comfort is acknowledged but not empowered because the deeper desire for strength and well-being is now the dominant force. Your focus is no longer split, and the action flows from a place of wholeness. To bring this into your own life, identify one specific area where you feel this internal tug of war most acutely. Perhaps it is the conflict between your goal to save money and your desire to make an impulsive online purchase. Or maybe it is the divide between your intention to have a calm evening and your habitual urge to scroll through news feeds that leave you feeling unsettled. For a moment, observe this conflict not as a personal failing, but as a sign of a divided self. Then, ask a simple but profound question: how can I educate my desires to align with my rational choice here? The answer is not to suppress the impulsive desire, but to consciously strengthen the more rational one by connecting it to your core values. Remind yourself why saving money leads to greater future freedom, or why a calm mind is a more powerful tool than an informed but restless one. This gentle, persistent realignment is the work of building an integrated self, a self whose focus is no longer broken from within. Stoicism does not eliminate desire, but redirects it toward the one place it can be reliably fulfilled: your own character. This is the heart of the discipline of desire, a thoughtful recalibration of what you allow yourself to want. The frustration and distraction you so often feel comes from a simple source. You are pouring your energy into wanting things that are ultimately outside your command. You might wish for a perfectly quiet room to work, but the world is full of sound. You may hope for a specific promotion, but the final decision rests in another's hands. You could long for universal praise, yet the opinions of others are changeable and unpredictable. Each of these external wants is like a small anchor, a point of connection that the world can pull at any moment to scatter your attention. The Stoic approach is not to want nothing, but to want only what is already yours to guide your own thoughtful action in the present moment. Epictetus placed this discipline first for a reason. Before you can correctly act or judge, you must first learn to want wisely. He taught that freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of what you desire, but by the reshaping of desire itself, meaning letting go of attachment to externals. Your freedom and your focus are found in wanting only to act with integrity, with courage, with fairness, and with wisdom, right here and right now. That is a desire no outside event can ever block. Consider the common aim of a promotion. When you fixate on the promotion itself, your mind is constantly drawn away from your work. You become distracted by thoughts about who else might be competing, by concern over your manager's opinion, by imagining the new title. Your focus is divided because it is tied to an outcome you cannot guarantee. Now shift that desire. Make it your only goal to do your job with excellence today, to be diligent, helpful, and fully engaged with the task in front of you. This desire is completely within your power. You can fulfill it this very hour. The energy that was once spent on worry is now channeled into pure, steady engagement with your work. The promotion may or may not come, but your peace of mind and your concentrated effort remain undisturbed. Take a quiet moment to reflect on your own current desires. Bring one of them clearly to mind. Now consider it through this simple filter. Is this desire for something outside my complete control, like a specific result, a person's behavior, or a particular set of circumstances? Or is it a desire for my own thoughtful action, for how I choose to think and act regardless of what happens? The desires in that first group are the seeds of your distraction. The desires in the second group are the building blocks of an unshakable focus. By choosing to want only what you can truly have, you soften the world's power to divert you, and you find a deep and lasting satisfaction in the thoughtful guidance of your own mind. All your power to focus, to act, and to live with purpose exists in one place only, the eternal now. The past is a collection of memories you can no longer change, and the future is a landscape of possibilities you cannot yet touch. The only reality you can ever truly inhabit, the only field where your actions have any real consequence, is this single, fleeting moment, when your mind drifts into concern about what might happen tomorrow or gets stuck replaying a conversation from yesterday. It abandons its post. You are physically here, but your attention is lost in a phantom realm, and your capacity for deep work begins to fade. Stoicism trains you to see this mental time travel for what it is, one of the most persistent and costly distractions to your concentration. Seneca observed this human tendency with deep insight, writing that we are always planning for how we are going to live, but we never actually live. We postpone our engagement with life, waiting for the right conditions or thinking about outcomes, while the only time we ever have slips quietly through our fingers. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful reminder when he noted that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within you, in your way of thinking, and that you must not forget the things you already have, remembering that the present is sufficient. He was not dismissing planning, but affirming that your entire capacity for virtue and focus is contained in the present. Your planning for the future is itself a present moment activity. The moment you turn it into a source of unease, you have left the field of action. Consider the simple act of writing an important message. Your mind knows the task is to craft a clear and thoughtful communication. But if you are simultaneously thinking about the meeting where that message will be discussed tomorrow, your focus splinters. You are no longer fully engaged with choosing the right words or structuring your ideas. You are mentally already in that future space, facing potential questions, and your present work suffers for it. The Stoic practice is to recognize that the meeting is not here. It does not exist. The only thing that exists is the blank page and your ability to fill it with meaningful content right now. By grounding yourself completely in the act of composition, you not only produce better work, but you also reclaim the mental calm that distraction had taken. To experience this shift directly, try a simple 5-minute practice. Set a timer for 5 minutes and choose a single activity, anything from washing a cup to reading a page of a book. Your only task for those 5 minutes is to keep your attention entirely on that activity. When your mind inevitably wanders to a past reflection or a future thought, do not judge yourself. Simply notice the departure and with gentle kindness, guide your focus back to the sensation of the warm water on your hands or the meaning of the words on the page. This is not a test of perfection, but a training in homecoming. Each gentle return is a repetition that strengthens your mental muscle, teaching you that the present moment is not just a location, but your most powerful place of strength. Stoic focus is not a selfish pursuit. It is often discovered in the service of others. When you see your daily efforts as a vital contribution to your community, your attention finds a powerful anchor far more compelling than any passing distraction. This perspective transforms your work from a personal chore into a meaningful duty, giving it a weight and importance that makes frivolous interruptions seem trivial by comparison. Marcus Aurelius constantly grounded himself in this very idea during his time as emperor, reminding himself in his private writings that he was created for the benefit of others, and that his every action should be for the common welfare of human beings. He saw himself not as a solitary ruler, but as a limb of a larger body, the interconnected community of humanity. When your focus is rooted in this sense of duty, you are no longer working just for yourself. You are acting for your team, your family, your city, or for the person who will ultimately benefit from your effort. This larger purpose provides a steadying force that keeps your mind from drifting toward self-centered worries or the lure of empty entertainment. Consider a task that feels tedious, like entering data into a spreadsheet. Viewed through a narrow, personal lens, it is a boring chore that invites your mind to wander in search of something more stimulating. But reframe that same task as a necessary contribution. See that your accuracy ensures your team's project is successful, which in turn supports your company's mission to provide a valuable service to its customers. Suddenly, that data entry is not a chore, it is a direct service. Every number you type correctly is an act of care for your colleagues and for the people your work ultimately touches. The distraction of a social media feed loses its appeal because it offers nothing of comparable meaning. Your focus becomes an act of generosity. Today, choose one routine task from your own life. It might be preparing a meal, completing a report, or even a household chore. For a few moments, consciously reframe it not as something you have to do for yourself, but as a service you are providing. You are cooking a nutritious meal to support your family's health and well-being. You are finishing that report to help your colleagues meet a shared goal. You are cleaning a shared space to create an environment of peace and order for everyone in your home. How does this shift in perspective change the quality of your attention? Does the work feel more worthy of your concentration? By dedicating your focus to your duty, you connect your individual action to the vast, interconnected web of human community. And in that connection, you find a reason to concentrate that is both humble and unshakable. While focus is an internal skill, the Stoics understood that a disordered environment makes the effort much more difficult. External clutter inevitably creates internal noise, a constant, low-level static that tugs at your attention without you even noticing. Taking conscious control of your physical and digital space is a direct, practical application of the dichotomy of control. You may not be able to manage the world's complexity, but the arrangement of your own desk and the files on your own computer are firmly within your sphere of influence. To leave them in disarray is to willingly allow an outside source of distraction to continue, a subtle form of neglecting your own capacity for reasoned choice. The Stoic value of self-respect asks that you create conditions that support your own virtue, and a cluttered space works directly against the clarity and focus that virtue requires. While the ancient texts do not lecture on minimalism, they consistently praise moderation and self-sufficiency. Seneca wrote extensively about the freedom that comes from not being enslaved to our possessions, arguing that the person is poor, not who has little, but who desires more. This freedom from attachment to external things applies just as powerfully to the many browser tabs you have open or the stack of unsorted papers on your desk. Each item represents a small, unresolved claim on your attention, a visual reminder of something else you feel you should be doing. A Stoic cleanup is not about interior design, it is about cognitive hygiene. Start with a single, defined area like your physical desk or your computer's desktop. Your goal is to remove anything not essential to your current, most important work. Place every non-essential item out of sight, either in a drawer or a designated digital folder. Close every application and browser tab that does not directly serve the task you have chosen for this session. What remains is a clean slate, a physical expression of a mind that has chosen its focus and cleared away the noise. This act is a declaration of intent. It tells your mind that this space and this time are reserved for one thing only. Challenge yourself to identify one single area of your physical or digital world that feels visually noisy. It might be your email inbox, your phone's home screen, or the corner of your kitchen counter. What one action could you take today to simplify that space, to remove just one item that consistently pulls your eye and your mind away from calm? That small, deliberate act of creating external order is a meaningful step toward securing the internal quiet where true focus can finally flourish. The Stoics ended their day with a conversation with themselves, a practice that sharpens focus for the days to come. This nightly journaling was not a simple diary of events, but a disciplined review of the mind's performance. It is here, in the quiet space of reflection, that you solidify the day's lessons and consciously prepare for a more focused tomorrow. Think of it as a daily training session for your attention, where you review the game film of your own mind, noting where your concentration held strong and where it wavered. By writing down what pulled you away from your purpose and, more importantly, how you responded, you move from being a passive observer of distraction to an active student of your own habits. This practice transforms abstract principles into lived wisdom, building a powerful self-awareness that makes your focus more resilient with each passing day. The most famous example of this is the personal notebook of Marcus Aurelius, a work we now call his Meditations. That entire text was never intended for publication. It was his private journal, a personal record of him wrestling with Stoic ideas, reminding himself of his duties and reflecting on his own growth. He was truly practicing what he taught, using the written word to reinforce his principles and clarify his focus amidst the immense responsibilities of leading an empire. His journal was his anchor. To bring this into your own life, you need nothing more than a few minutes and a simple notebook. Each evening, ask yourself 3 straightforward questions. First, what was the single biggest distraction I faced today? Name it clearly, whether it was a constant concern, a social media spiral, or a colleague's interruption. Second, how did I handle it? Be honest. Did you apply the dichotomy of control, or did you react without reflection? Third, and this is the most important step, how could I handle it better tomorrow using a Stoic principle? This is where you actively plan your response. If the distraction was a noisy environment, your plan for tomorrow might be to anticipate that noise and decide in advance that it is an external you can observe without judgment. This simple ritual does not take long, but its compound effect is profound. You are essentially preparing your mind for the next day's challenges, turning yesterday's experiences into tomorrow's strengths. For the next 3 nights, make this journaling practice your own quiet experiment. Do not worry about writing eloquently or at great length. The goal is clarity, not volume. See if this act of nightly reflection begins to change the quality of your daytime attention. You may find that merely knowing you will later review your focus makes you more mindful of it in the moment, creating a gentle, continuous loop of self-improvement that steadily builds an unshakable concentration. It takes courage to stay with a challenging task when your mind is calling for an easier, more stimulating distraction. We often picture courage in dramatic terms, facing a physical threat or speaking out in a crowd. But the Stoic virtue of courage, or andreia, runs much deeper than that. For the ancient philosophers, courage was fundamentally about moral and mental endurance, the strength to persist in doing what is right even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. This is the exact same strength required to sustain your focus on a demanding piece of work. Choosing to stay with that complex report, to wrestle with a difficult concept, or to complete a necessary chore is not a passive act of endurance. It is an active, daily exercise of courage. You are consciously choosing the path of greater resistance because reason tells you it is the right path, and in that choice you fortify your inner character. Epictetus taught that courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than that fear. In the context of your work, the fear is the discomfort of mental strain, and the more important thing is your commitment to doing your duty well. Every time you resist the powerful urge to check your messages while working on a complex problem, you are not just being productive, you are practicing a small, vital act of stoic courage. You are telling the impulsive part of your mind that the immediate relief of distraction is less important than the integrity of your effort. That internal victory, repeated over and over, builds a resilience that goes far beyond your to-do list. Think of a task you have been actively avoiding because it feels daunting or unpleasant. Perhaps it is a difficult conversation you need to have, a financial project you have put off, or a learning curve that feels steep. For just a moment, reframe that avoidance not as a simple lack of motivation, but as a flight from discomfort. Now, consider what it would mean to approach that very task today as a deliberate practice in stoic courage. You are not required to complete it perfectly or even finish it. Your only mission is to sit with it for a defined period, to face the initial discomfort without seeking an escape, and in doing so, to prove to yourself that your capacity for focused effort is greater than your desire for an easy way out. This is how courage is built, not in a single grand gesture, but in the quiet accumulation of moments where you choose to stay. Stoicism would call multitasking what it really is, a failure of focus and a departure from the present moment. This cultural badge of honor is actually a rapid and draining switch between half attentions, a practice that directly opposes the Stoic command to engage fully with the single thing right in front of you. You cannot serve 2 masters well, and you cannot direct your rational mind toward excellence when it is perpetually divided. The ancient texts do not mention emails or text messages, but the principle is unmistakably clear in the writings of Marcus Aurelius. He instructed himself to give every task the full measure of your attention, to do it as if it were your last, and to refuse the pull of distraction. This is not a suggestion for peak productivity, it is a requirement for living with virtue. When you attempt to write a report while intermittently answering a stream of texts, you are not doing 2 things at once. You are instead doing neither with any real quality. Your report becomes a patchwork of shallow thoughts, and your messages lack the consideration of a fully present mind. You have left the present task for a phantom of efficiency, sacrificing the depth of your work for the illusion of speed. The mental cost of this constant shifting is immense, leaving you feeling fractured and mentally tired, far from the calm and integrated state the Stoics sought. For the next hour, choose your most important piece of work and conduct a simple experiment in single tasking. Silence every notification, close every irrelevant tab, and make a pact with yourself to do nothing but that one activity. When the urge to check something else arises, notice it as an impression, but do not give it your assent. Guide your attention back again and again to the single point of focus. Observe not only the tangible improvement in the quality of your output, but more importantly, the profound sense of mental calm that emerges when your mind is no longer at war with itself. This is the peace that comes from honoring the present moment with your whole being. The state of flow that artists and athletes describe has a Stoic foundation, a radical acceptance of the present conditions. Modern psychology identifies this as a peak experience of total absorption, where time seems to vanish and your skills meet the challenge perfectly, but this cannot be forced. It arises only when you stop fighting the reality of your situation. The internal struggle against a noisy environment, a tight deadline, or the imperfect feel of your tools creates a friction that locks you out of the experience. Stoic acceptance, the heart of Amor Fati, is the act of lowering that drawbridge. It is the conscious decision to love the circumstances you have, not as a barrier to your work, but as the very ground upon which you will perform it. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he guided himself to love the humble art you have learned and to rest in it. He was pointing to that profound rest which comes not from inaction, but from the end of internal resistance. When you cease arguing with what is, your energy is no longer divided between the task and your frustration about the conditions. All of your cognitive resources can finally pour into the action itself, and that is where flow begins. Think of a musician walking onto a stage. They do not have the perfect instrument. The hall has its own peculiar acoustics, and the audience is not entirely silent. If they spend their mental energy wishing for a different violin or a quieter room, their performance will be stiff and disjointed. But if they accept the instrument in their hands, the sound in the air, and the listeners before them, they can merge with the music. Their fingers find the strings without conscious thought, their breath supports the phrase, and they are no longer playing the sonata, they are the sonata. The acceptance of the unchangeable elements is what allows them to access a state of effortless focus. Can you recall a time you were completely in flow? Perhaps while writing, coding, playing a sport, or even in a deep conversation. Look back at that moment with a Stoic eye. Did it not begin with a quiet surrender to the reality of the situation? You likely stopped wishing for more time, for a better tool, or for fewer interruptions. You embraced the task with all its inherent limitations, and in that embrace you found not constraint, but a surprising and powerful freedom. A scattered mind can often be traced to a neglected body. The Stoics took this link seriously. They argued that while our true good lies solely in our virtue and character, our physical health is what philosophers called a preferred indifferent. This means it is not good in itself, but it is vastly preferable to its opposite and something we have a clear duty to manage wisely. Why? Because your body is the vessel for your reasoning mind, the very instrument you use to practice focus and wisdom. Allowing it to fall into disrepair through neglect is like a craftsman deliberately dulling their finest tool, making their essential work far more difficult than it needs to be. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus was direct on this point, asserting that training the body requires no less attention than training the soul. He saw physical vigor as a foundation for mental vigor, a prerequisite for enduring hardship and maintaining clarity. Seneca, too, emphasized moderation rather than extremes, noting that we should eat to live, not live to eat, and that simple food and regular exercise prevent the body from becoming a source of constant, distracting complaint. Think about your own experience. That afternoon mental fog, the inability to concentrate after a poor night's sleep, the irritability that arises from skipping a meal. These are not moral failings. They are often the legitimate physical consequences of a body that has not been cared for. Your struggle to focus might not be a lack of willpower at all, but a simple signal from your body that its basic needs have been overlooked. In the Stoic framework, honoring that signal is not self-indulgence, it is a fundamental responsibility. By ensuring you are rested, nourished, and active, you are not chasing a perfect body. You are performing maintenance on the vehicle for your reason, clearing away the physical static that clouds your judgment. Take a quiet moment to assess one single aspect of your own physical routine. Is it your sleep, your nutrition, or your daily movement? How does this one area directly influence your capacity for deep, sustained focus during the day? Acknowledging this connection is the first step in treating your physical well-being not as a separate project, but as an integral part of your philosophical practice for a clear and steady mind. In a world of constant noise, the Stoic practice of seeking silence is not an escape, but a training ground for focus. This is a strategic retreat, a deliberate withdrawal from the barrage of external stimulation to recalibrate your mind's fundamental ability to concentrate. When you step away from the chatter, both digital and human, you give your cognitive resources a rare opportunity to settle. The mind, no longer pulled in a dozen directions, can finally turn inward and rediscover its own innate capacity for quiet, sustained attention. This is not about loneliness or isolation. It is about cultivating a fertile inner quiet where your thoughts can clarify and your focus can strengthen. Seneca wrote eloquently on this very practice in his letters, observing that we must take time for ourselves, for conversations with ourselves are needed. He saw solitude as essential for self-examination, a space where we can untangle our judgments and return to our duties with renewed clarity and purpose. To experience this, try a simple exercise in Stoic silence. For 15 minutes, find a quiet space and be alone with no devices, no music, no inputs of any kind. You can simply sit and observe the flow of your thoughts without engaging them, or you can gently focus your attention on the rhythm of your breath. The goal is not to empty your mind, but to wrest it from the exhausting work of constant reaction. You are practicing the discipline of assent in its purest form, observing impressions without automatically following them. Notice how, after just a few minutes, the initial restlessness begins to fade, replaced by a growing sense of mental space and calm authority. This is your mind remembering how to be still. Your challenge is to schedule just 10 minutes of true, uninterrupted silence into your day. It could be first thing in the morning before the world wakes, or during a lunch break in a quiet corner. Afterward, take a moment to note the subtle shift in your mental state. Do you feel more centered, less reactive, more capable of directing your attention with intention? This small daily practice builds a profound resilience, teaching your mind that it does not need constant external noise to feel alive, only its own quiet, capable presence. What if that person interrupting you was not a random obstacle, but a thread in the same cosmic fabric as you are? This is the profound Stoic principle of sympatheia, the understanding that everything in the universe is woven together into a single, rational, and living whole. When you grasp this idea at a feeling level, the very nature of an interruption begins to change. It is no longer an alien invader crashing into your private mental space. It is a movement within a shared organism, a necessary part of the larger pattern you also belong to. This perspective does not make the interruption disappear, but it completely dissolves the frustration that normally comes with it, replacing annoyance with a quiet sense of connection. Marcus Aurelius returned to this cosmic view again and again to steady his mind. He wrote that the world is a single living being with one substance and one soul, and that all things are woven together in a common bond. He saw his own life and duties as one small but essential expression of this universal network. Your colleague stopping by your desk with a question is not a separate event from your project. Both of you and the project itself are part of the same interconnected system. Their need for clarification is a signal from another part of the whole, a necessary adjustment for the health of the shared endeavor. Seeing it this way, your patience is no longer a strained act of tolerance, but a natural response to a fellow part of the same body. The next time someone interrupts your flow, try this subtle but powerful shift in perception. Instead of seeing them as a nuisance outside your world, see them as a connected element within it. That phone call from a family member is not pulling you away from your life. It is an expression of the relational web that is your life. The sudden request from your manager is not a disruption to your plan, but a recalibration of the team's collective direction. When you view the world through the lens of sympatheia, you stop fighting the current of reality and begin to flow with it. This acceptance is the deepest form of focus because your energy is no longer wasted on resistance. You are free to engage fully with each moment as it arrives, knowing it is all part of one inseparable whole. A scattered mind often leads to scattered speech. Stoicism teaches us to master both. Your words are not merely sounds you make, they are expressions of your inner state, a direct channel for your mental energy. When you engage in gossip, complaint, or endless chatter about trivial matters, you are not just talking, you are actively depleting the very cognitive resources required for deep focus. Every unnecessary word is a small leak in your concentration. This is where the Stoic virtue of temperance applies directly to your communication, asking you to be disciplined and measured with your speech, to conserve your inner strength for what truly matters. The philosopher Epictetus laid down a powerful and practical rule for this very purpose. He instructed his students to let silence be your general rule, and to say only what is necessary and in few words. He went further, offering a three-part filter we can use to this day. He suggested we ask ourselves before speaking, is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary, and is it kind? This is not about never speaking, but about ensuring your words carry weight and purpose, aligning your external expression with your internal focus. Consider a common scenario in an office setting. A colleague pulls you aside to share a piece of gossip about a manager's decision. The untrained mind might jump right in, adding its own speculation and opinion, fueling a conversation that spirals into frustration and distraction. Long after the conversation ends, your mind is cluttered with the emotional residue, making it difficult to return to your work with clarity. The Stoic approach, however, is to apply the filter. Is the gossip certainly true? Probably not. Is it necessary for you to engage with it to do your job well? Almost never. Is it kind to the people involved? Rarely. With that clear judgment, you can politely disengage, preserving your mental energy and your focus for the task you have chosen. Your quiet refusal to participate is not rudeness. It is an act of profound self-respect and cognitive hygiene. For the next hour, make your own speech a conscious practice. Before you speak, even in a quick message or a passing comment, pause for just a moment. Silently ask yourself Epictetus's three questions. Is this true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? You may be surprised by how much you choose not to say, and in that quiet space, you will feel your focus strengthen, your mind becoming clearer and more fully your own. A grateful mind is a focused mind because it is content with what is. rather than perpetually searching for what isn't. This daily habit of stoic gratitude acts as a powerful anchor, rooting your attention in the present moment by actively highlighting the value and virtue already contained within it. When your mind is trained to spot the good, it stops feeling like something is missing, and the restless urge to seek novelty and distraction simply loses its force. Contentment is not a passive state of having everything you want, but an active practice of wanting what you already have. Gratitude is the engine of that practice. It systematically dismantles the illusion that a more focused, peaceful state of mind exists somewhere else. Under different circumstances, it reveals that the capacity for deep engagement is not a future reward, but a present possibility, if only you choose to recognize the tools and opportunities already in your hands. Marcus Aurelius modeled this with profound intention. The very first pages of his personal meditations are not a list of philosophical principles or imperial commands. They are a lengthy, detailed catalogue of gratitude. He writes down his thanks, the specific lessons he learned from his family, his mentors, and even from people who showed him difficult qualities to avoid. He begins his entire personal journey by grounding himself in what he has already received. This was not a sentimental exercise, it was a cognitive ritual, a way of setting his mental compass toward abundance and virtue before he even stepped out to face the day's demands. You can build this same foundation before you begin your next important work session. Take just 60 seconds, close your eyes, and mentally list 3 specific things you are grateful for about the opportunity to do this very work. It does not need to be grand. You might be grateful for the quiet room you have to think in, for the knowledge that allows you to tackle this challenge, or for the simple fact that your efforts contribute to something larger than yourself. This act does not change your external task, but it completely transforms your internal relationship to it. The work is no longer a burden, but a privilege. The focus it requires becomes a natural expression of your thankfulness. Now, take this a step further into your own reflection. Grab a notebook or a simple digital note. Write down 3 specific things that supported your focus today. Perhaps it was the warm cup of tea that sustained you, the clear instruction from a colleague that saved you time, or the 30 minutes of unexpected quiet that allowed for a breakthrough. By naming these supports, you are not just being positive, you are training your attention to spot the architecture of your own concentration. Make you less likely to willingly dismantle it by chasing a distraction that promises a fulfillment you already possess. Stoic focus is not a sprint. It is the marathon of building a life of meaning, one undistracted moment at a time. Each time you consciously choose your work over a distraction, you are doing far more than finishing a report or studying a page. You are actively carving the grooves of your character, shaping a self that is less reactive and more deeply aligned with purpose. This is the ultimate long view of Stoicism, where your daily practice of attention is not about productivity alone, but about the slow, steady construction of a coherent and virtuous life. Seneca, in his writing on the happy life, captured this perfectly when he observed that a life without a design is erratic, and that a guiding principle must run through one's life like a straight line. Your consistent focus is that guiding principle in action, the straight line that keeps your journey true. Imagine 2 possible paths stretching out over 5 years. One is a life driven by reactive impulses, a scattered existence where each ping, each demand, and each passing worry pulls the individual in a new direction. The days blend into a blur of busyness, leaving behind a faint sense of having been constantly occupied, but having built very little of lasting personal significance. Now picture the alternative, a life guided by Stoic principles. Here, focus becomes the natural expression of a cultivated character. The same external events occur, the same distractions arise, but they are met with a quiet, practiced response. Each choice to return to the task, to pause before reacting, to accept an interruption with grace, is another brick laid in the foundation of a resilient and integrated self. Over months and years, these small, daily decisions compound into a profound transformation. The struggle for focus gradually gives way to a settled habit of deep engagement. Your work becomes a clear and meaningful expression of who you are. So, take a quiet moment to look ahead. Project yourself 5 years into the future. If you were to consistently practice these principles of focus from this day forward, who would you become? Would you be a person whose mind is a reliable sanctuary of calm, whose actions flow from deliberate choice rather than scattered impulse? The person you will be in 5 years is being built entirely by the choices you are making in this single, fleeting moment, and in every moment that follows. Stoic philosophy hands you the reins to your own attention, not by changing the world, but by mastering your response to it. We have walked through a complete framework, from the foundational filter of the dichotomy of control to the daily disciplines of assent and desire. You have seen how practices like remembering our shared human journey clarify your priorities, and how the view from above puts small distractions in their proper place. These are not isolated tricks, but interlocking parts of a single, coherent system for building an unshakable mental clarity. This entire journey leads to a single, liberating destination, the freedom that comes from investing your energy solely in what is yours to command. The teacher Epictetus expressed this ultimate promise with perfect clarity when he said, "He is free who lives as he wishes, who cannot be compelled, hindered, or constrained, whose impulses cannot be thwarted, who always gets what he desires and never falls into what he would avoid." This freedom is not found in a perfect life, but in a mind that has learned to want only what it can truly have. Your focus becomes unbreakable when it is anchored in your own reasoned choices, not in the unpredictable flow of external events. So we leave you with one final, personal question to carry into your week. Which single Stoic principle will you choose to practice first to strengthen your concentration? Will it be the conscious pause of a single breath before reacting to a notification, or the nightly journaling to review your mind's performance? Your path to a more focused life begins with that one decision. We would be honored to hear about your journey. Share which Stoic tool resonated most with you in the comments below. And if you found this guidance valuable, subscribe for more conversations on building a life of purpose and calm. Your attention is your most precious resource. Guard it